like to call the Thursday, October 28th, 2021 Huntley Village Board meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Trustee Goldman,
Yes.
Trustee Holzkoff,
Present.
Trustee Kanakaris, Trustee Kittle,
Yes.
Trustee Leopold,
Yes.
Trustee Westberg is absent, Mayor Huft.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Trustee Westberg.
All right, item 4, I'd like to go into executive session for collective bargaining. I'll need a motion in a second.
So move.
Mary?
Second.
Kurt?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Members of the public, we're gonna stay here,
Yeah.
right?
It's
Members of the public, we're gonna have to ask you to go in the hall and then,
Mayor, it
yeah.
needs to be a roll call vote.
okay, sorry.
Trustee Holzkoff,
Aye.
Trustee Kanakaris,
Yes.
Trustee Leopold,
Yes.
Trustee Kittle,
Yes.
Trustee Goldman,
Yes.
Trustee Westberg.
Aye.
Motion carries.
That was actually kind of funny.
It's clean.
Yeah.
Okay, have it back. That's too much alcohol for me.
You need to close the doors.
Move on to item 5, administration of the oath of office, Sergeant Megan Carney, Chief and Rita.
Good evening. This evening is a very important night for us. We're going to be swearing in one of our new sergeants, Megan Carney. I'm going to provide just a little bit of background here on Megan's career before we do the oath of office. So Megan was a graduate of Schaumburg High School in 1995. She attended Harper College, where she began her work towards her associate's degree, and now she went back to school, and she's currently enrolled at McHenry County College and plans to complete her courses for her associate's degree. She began her law enforcement career working as a traffic service officer with the Hoffman Estates Police Department from 1997 until 1999. I'm going to lose this for just a moment.
Sure.
She was hired by the Huntley Police Department in August of 1999. She began her career and worked as a patrol officer for the first 15 years of her career. She served as an officer in charge, also known as an OIC, for 9 years and a field training officer for 11 years. Megan was a part of the bicycle officer program since 2014. She actually received a letter of commendation for developing the Bike Huntley event, which continues to this day. From January of 2015 until October of 2021, she was assigned to our CRT unit. Just some examples of some of the things that Megan has accomplished in our CRT unit. She serves as a social services coordinator. She refers reports for domestic violence cases, mental health concerns, substance abuse, elder abuse, and any other cases that our current social service worker works on. She would also respond to calls in the field when requested, along with our social service worker. She currently serves as a crisis intervention training coordinator for the department. She works with our area sergeants on village of quality of life issues such as neighborhood disputes, vacant home issues, dumping complaints, and various code enforcement issues. Megan is also known for her public speaking throughout the community. She's performed many presentations in the community. She's attended several community advisory group meetings. She has coordinated and planned and attended several major events in the village. She works very closely with Barb Reed, as do many of our staff here. And she's organized and ran our Citizen Police Academy program and served as a liaison for the CPA Alumni Association, which is close to 100 active members, and I'm pretty sure they're all here today. She has also served as the police liaison and coordinator for the Huntley Citizens Emergency Response Team, also known as CERT. She has served as the vice president and secretary of the Citizens Corps Council, which oversees all of our volunteer programs. So Megan has quite an impressive resume here. She has a number of family members here, and I'm hoping I don't miss anybody, but she has her son Matt, her wife Julie, her stepson Jack, stepdaughter Haley, mom Gloria, her brother Mike, her sister-in-law Jen, Julie's mom Cindy, Julie's brother Adam, and Julie's sister Megan. So at this point, I would like to have Sergeant Carney come forward.
I, Megan Carney, having been appointed to the office of police sergeant of the village of Huntley, counties of Kane and McKenna, in the state of Illinois, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America, and the Constitution of the state of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of police sergeant to the best of my ability.
Now we'll have the official pinning of the star.
All right, first of all, I'd like to thank Chief Porter. Thank you, Mayor, Village Manager Dave Johnson, all the village trustees. As both an employee and a citizen of the Huntley, I want to thank you for always putting the citizens of our community first and for recognizing the importance of having the proper personnel and equipment to serve our community. So thank you very much for that. I'm extremely proud to be standing up here today, taking this oath of office. Being a police officer is one of the most rewarding and challenging careers there is. As a police officer, we wear many masks. We are not only law enforcement, we are community relations officers, marriage counselors, parents, social workers, just to name a few. In a time like now, when this profession has been under so much scrutiny, I find myself thinking about how lucky I am to be working here. I am so thankful that we have the love and support of our community. During the last 6.5 years, I've had the opportunity to work closely within our community, and I have seen firsthand this love and support. It makes this complex job so much easier and rewarding, knowing we have our citizens behind us. So I want to thank all of you here from CPA, CERT. Thank you for coming out on this cold and rainy night to show your support for us. It makes this evening that much more special for me. I want to thank Barb Reed, the hardest working person I know. Again, I thought I was a hardworking person, but Barb ran circles around me. you know, we planned and worked together so closely with our community events. She made it so much fun, and it was so easy. And with her and the volunteers, it was almost like not even working at all. I want to thank my family, both new and old, for being here tonight and for your continued love and support. I want to give an extra special thank you to my son Matthew for being so understanding throughout the years and for a few more years to come for the missed birthdays, holidays, and sporting events. I also want to give a special thank you to my beautiful wife, Julie, of just 18 days. Thank you for all your encouraging words and patience as these new adventures in our lives begin. And thank you, Haley and Jack, for helping and supporting your mom through these changes. During my career, one of my most favorite roles, as Chief had mentioned earlier, was being an FTO, field training officer. Gave me the opportunity to mold and shape our new recruits into fine officers they are today. And now I look forward to going back to patrol to take a new role, that of a mentor and a leader. And I look forward to having the opportunity to continue to guide and support these fine officers and to help them achieve their own career goals and maybe one day stand up here. Thank you.
Great job, Megan. You're going to make an outstanding sergeant. I would like to thank all of our staff here that came out to support you tonight and our families. These are, you've heard this from me a million times, this is a very difficult job. A lot of challenges, a lot of struggles. Having that family and friend support and the support of each other is critical. So thank you all for coming out tonight. All of our volunteers, I mean, this is just one of the special things about Huntley, to see everybody here supporting each other. So thank you very much. Before I conclude, I did want to recognize somebody. He doesn't know I'm going to say anything tonight, but this is Deputy Chief Todd Fulton's last board meeting. So I wanted to, personally, we're going to talk a lot about Todd next week, but I also wanted to thank him for his 28 years of service and recognize the fact that this is his last board meeting. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Chief. Congratulations, Megan. You guys can do what you usually do and
Take 2 minutes.
leave and not,
Exodus. There will
don't
not
have to
be a
stay for the
mass
whole meeting.
exodus.
We'd like you to if you want to, but
There's gonna be 2 people left. All right, I got $5. It's only gonna be 2 people left. Oh no, I'm gonna go with 4.
She was hired 6 months after I moved to Huntley. Bye.
I love that group.
The white people.
Well, they stood behind me in my reelection.
I met with them on Tuesday. They're nice. What's up? Nancy? Where is she? She's a sophomore?
Sophomore at Huntley High School. You see my post about that wonderful school? I
Yes.
posted a lot of sites. It would be great if she wanted to go into the Rio Club because it's a service. I have never seen anything as exciting as those kids. They don't need us. They stepped up their own leadership.
Yeah.
It's almost all girls.
Hmm.
turn that back on. Number 6, no public comments. 7, items for discussion and consideration. approval of the August 12th, 2021 Village Board and August 12th, 2021 Liquor Commission minutes.
Everybody was here?
Everybody was here. Any additions?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Harry and JR. Roll call, please.
Trustee Leopold?
Yes.
Trustee Kittle?
Yes.
Trustee Goldman?
Yes.
Trustee Westberg?
Aye.
Trustee Holzkoff?
Aye.
Trustee Candicaris?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item B, consideration and approval of the October 28th, 2021 bill list in the amount of $883,073.55. Any additions or corrections?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Nico and Harry. Roll call, please.
Trustee Candicaris?
Yes.
Trustee Leopold?
Yes.
Trustee Kittle?
Yes.
Trustee Goldman?
Yes.
Trustee Westberg?
Aye.
Trustee Holzkoff?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item C, consideration of an ordinance authorizing the First Amendment to the parking easement agreement with the First Congregational Church at 11628 East Main Street. Dave?
Thank you, Mayor. As some of you may recall, back in 2017, we entered into an agreement with the church to provide additional parking spaces in the downtown. That was in July of 17. The church entered into the agreement in exchange for the village resurfacing the existing paved parking area as well as a portion of the property that was unpaved. The proposed amendment in front of you tonight would provide for an annual reimbursement to the church for the cost of snow removal in an amount not to exceed $6,000 for the winter season. The church will submit documentation, obviously, before the village would reimburse if you approve this agreement tonight. So therefore, we're looking for a motion this evening from the board for an ordinance authorizing a First Amendment to the parking easement agreement with First Congregational Church at 11628 East Main Street. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody got questions?
Motion to approve.
Rhonda?
Second.
Bert? Roll call, please.
Trustee Goldman?
Yes.
Trustee Westberg?
Aye.
Trustee Holzkoff?
Aye.
Trustee Candicaris?
Yes.
Trustee Leopold?
Yes.
Trustee Kittle?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item D, consideration of a resolution accepting a proposal from CT Beach Incorporated for the Scott Drive Pond landscaping improvements in the amount not to exceed $8,750. Tim?
Thank you, Mayor. So the Scott Drive Pond is in Southwind and is a catch and release fishing area for just the Southwind residents only. The Scott Drive Pond landscape improvements would identify a dedicated fishing area with the intent to limit the foot traffic onto private property around the pond. The fishing area along the pond adjacent to Scott Drive is in need of maintenance along the shoreline to better stabilize the area and provide a safer landing for fishing activities. Staff proposes installing a split rail PVC fence with landscaping to establish the limits of the fishing area as well as no fishing beyond this point signage. To address the shoreline issue, staff proposes the installation of larger riprap stone, larger than what's out there now. It'd be in the size of 12 to 16 inches in diameter on the south bank to stabilize that shoreline and prevent future erosion there. These improvements would provide dedicated limits for fishing that can withstand the foot traffic as well as enhance the overall beautification of the pond. A proposal for this landscape improvements has been received by CT Beach and has been reviewed by staff. This time all is in order for consideration to approve the proposal. And additionally, village staff would coordinate the purchase and delivery of the riprap at an estimated additional cost of approximately $6,500. The FY21 budget does include sufficient funds for this work. So at this time, the action request is a motion of the village board for a resolution accepting a proposal from CT Beach for the Scott Drive Pond landscape improvement in the amount not to exceed $8,750. I'll take any questions.
JR?
I remember about 7 years ago, we did riprap on a pond out there. Is that the same pond?
We did. The riprap we're proposing now is much larger and be much more difficult for people to lift it and throw it into the pond, which is what happened with the old riprap.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I think that riprap's at JR's house. I saw that the other day over there. Just saying.
Oh, it's not at my house then.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Harry and Nico, roll call, please.
Trustee Leopold?
Yes.
Trustee Kittle?
Yes.
Trustee Goldman?
Yes.
Trustee Westberg?
Aye.
Trustee Holzkoff?
Aye.
Trustee Canakaris.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item E, consideration of a resolution accepting a proposal for a pedestrian safety evaluation for Christopher Burke Engineering in an amount not to exceed $15,000. Tim?
Thanks, Mayor. So the village often receives requests from citizens for pedestrian crossing improvements that require traffic calming solutions at various locations throughout the village. Traffic calming is the balance of vehicular with pedestrian access for safe transportation environments. The village has been proactive in improving pedestrian crossings with enhanced pavement markings, pedestrian signage, and where warranted, the rapid reflective flash beacons, or RRFBs, such as the ones you see at Halligus Road and Scott Drive. And this is for a controlled crosswalk condition. The police department also mobilizes the speed trailer at select locations to increase driver awareness. A proposal for pedestrian safety evaluation has been received from CBEL, and the services would include an evaluation of pedestrian crossings at up to 10 locations on village local roads that would identify a range of options, including a mix of simple visibility enhancements to controlled crossings with the RRFBs and possibly refuge islands if warranted. The deliverable would be a technical memorandum that identifies each crossing location with an option for improvements, and then the supporting data and cost estimates. This time, all is in order for the village board consideration to approve the proposal. The FY21 budget does include sufficient funding for this evaluation. So what we're looking for is a motion of the village board for a resolution accepting a proposal for the pedestrian safety evaluation from CBEL in an amount not to exceed $15,000.
Anybody got any questions, comments?
Yeah, I got a question.
Go ahead, Nico.
So they're gonna come back to us and tell us some will require flashing lights, their recommendation, and some won't, but what if we wanna do all flashing, then it's up to us?
Correct. I mean, their evaluation would look at each site independently, and there's certain warrant criteria, line of sight, speed, crash history data, what have you. And they'll take all of that data and formulate an opinion, an engineering recommendation at each location. Obviously, right now, we don't know what that would be. I mean, I think it's unlikely that all 10 locations would require an RRFB, but
Is that what it's called?
that was rapid reflecting flashing beacons, correct. But there may be a couple that warrant it. There may be some that just warrant simple traffic signage, more pedestrian markings, potentially stop warrants, things of that nature.
So we'll have the option.
We will have the option.
Okay, that's awesome.
Make a motion.
Yep, make a motion.
Second.
Nico and Harry? Roll call, please.
Trustee Canakaris.
Yes.
Trustee Leopold.
Yes.
Trustee Kittle.
Yes.
Trustee Goldman.
Yes.
Trustee Westberg.
Aye.
Trustee Holzkoff.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item H, consideration of approval of payout request number 4 and final to Arrow Road Construction Company for the 2021 Street Improvement Program in the amount of $299,734.99. Tim?
Thanks, Mayor. So Arrow Road Construction Company has submitted the fourth and then their final payout request for the 2021 Street Improvement Program. CBEL and staff has reviewed the request and all is in order for consideration of the payout. The final construction cost is just under $15,000 below the bid amount, which is good news. The FY21 budget includes funding for this 21 program. The full amount of the MFT appropriation would be used for construction, and then any unexpended budgeted funds would remain in the Street Improvement and Road and Bridges Fund. The final waivers and certified payrolls have been submitted. So at this time, the action request is a motion by the village board to approve payout request number 4, which is the final, to Arrow Road Construction Company in the amount of $299,734.99 for the work completed under the 2021 Street Improvement Program.
Any questions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
JR and Kurt?
Correct.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Westberg.
Aye.
Trustee Holzkoff.
Aye.
Trustee Canakaris.
Yes.
Trustee Leopold.
Yes.
Trustee Kittle.
Yes.
Trustee Goldman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item G, consideration of an ordinance approving the 5th edition for the Huntley Cemetery at 11503 Dean Street. Rita?
Thank you, Mayor. The Huntley Cemetery encompasses approximately 2.6 acres on the west side of Dean Street and 4.6 acres on the east of Dean Street. Sales of grave sites have increased recently due to St. Mary's no longer selling graves that are not for an at-need basis, and their cemetery is very close to being near capacity. Block 7 of the cemetery was the last section to be platted on the east side and has approximately 80 graves remaining for sale. There have been 49 graves sold in Block 7 to date in 2021. CBEL has conducted a site analysis of the west side of the cemetery, creating a plat survey and plat outlining the vacant area. The platting of the vacant area provides for 460 graves and is the 5th addition for the Huntley Cemetery. Previous additions date back to the late 1800s when the cemetery was first established. Plat pins and row markers will be purchased and installed prior to the intended opening of the area in the spring of 2022. Funds for landscaping the new area are being proposed in the fiscal year 22 budget. The fiscal year 21 budget does include funding for engineering and platting of the vacant area on the west side of Dean Street in the cemetery fund. The platting has been reviewed with the village attorney and all is order for the village board consideration at this time. The requested action is a motion, please, of the village board to approve an ordinance approving the 5th addition to the Huntley Cemetery, 11503 Dean Street. Thank you.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, look for motion.
Approve.
Rhonda?
Second.
Nico? Roll call, please.
Trustee Goldman,
Yes.
Trustee Westberg,
Aye.
Trustee Holzkoff,
Aye.
Trustee Kanakaris,
Yes.
Trustee Leopold,
Yes.
Trustee Kittle.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item H, consideration of a resolution adopting the 2022 through 2025 strategic plan. Dave?
Thank you, Mayor. As we presented on October 14th, we're bringing the final document back for your approval. The plan that's provided in the agenda packet in the Word format will also be included in our budget document as we've done annually for the last decade. The final version of the plan will also be made available in a printed format. I know we passed that out. We plan to use that obviously as a marketing and public information document. We also have a smaller version of that we intend to use as well. So again, thank you for all your time in helping and putting that together, and we look forward to meeting the strategic focus and goals that are identified in that document. And again, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody got questions, comments?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mary and Harry?
Yeah.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Holzkoff,
Aye.
Trustee Kanakaris,
Yes.
Trustee Leopold,
Yes.
Trustee Kittle,
Yes.
Trustee Goldman,
Yes.
Trustee Westberg.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 8, our budget workshop number 2, review of the major capital revenue sources and preliminary capital department request. Dave?
Thank you, Mayor. We've prepared a PowerPoint tonight that gives some additional details. The expenditures that we provided in the packet, I think, speak for themselves. But we try to do tonight in our presentation is just to categorize the capital requests and just give some additional background information. And as a reminder, this is a workshop meeting for discussion. Ultimately, the budget is scheduled for approval in December. So this is still a work in progress, and this is a checkpoint to be able to obviously get the board's feedback, which is critically important as we put the final document together.
One quick question. If we can just keep our comments or questions till Dave's done with his presentation, that'll help us move along a little faster. So instead of, if you have a question, asking it, just make a note, and then at the end, we'll have questions.
Thank you, Mayor. So we're going to revert right back to the strategic plan that you just approved. And goal number 2, under forward-looking community, management of infrastructure assets for today and tomorrow. And what's being presented tonight is over $14 million to do exactly that. The village will regularly assess the condition of its infrastructure and identify capital needs and funding sources to maintain, improve, and expand its infrastructure to meet the needs of the community. When we start to break it down, that $14 million basically can be categorized this way. A little over $8 million, or 57%, is today, right, to maintain that existing infrastructure that we have in place. Tomorrow, new projects, improved infrastructure, expanded infrastructure is about 43% or $6 million of what we've presented here. Maintain today, improve and expand tomorrow. So I'm not gonna go line by line as much as you want me to through each and every one of these expenditures, but what we added here is just to give you a little idea of, obviously, the fund balance projections as well as revenue sources for each of the funds. So you saw basically this in your packet, which itemized A and B, the prioritized expenditures that we're proposing for the 2022 budget. C, we start to give you an idea of different projects, items that were presented that we ultimately didn't believe that from a timing and financial standpoint made sense to move forward in 22. However, what you will see in an upcoming document sooner than later is our 5-year capital improvement plan that will include all the items that are shown on here as C, unless you'd like us to remove one of those items. So the Capital Projects and Improvement Fund starts fiscal year 21. I'm sorry, we complete fiscal year 21, and our estimated fund balance is a little over 1.7 million. The revenue sources that we have for our Capital Project and Improvement Fund is a quarter, 25% of the home rule sales tax, investment income, and then dollars that we receive from the development community. Proposed expenditure, I'm sorry, so that totals $698,750. The proposed expenditures A and B, along with the transfer of those dollars that we receive from the developers for our gateway signage in and around the I-90 area, totals $446,700. So we are estimating at this time, based on the numbers that we provided in the packet, FY22 projected ending fund balance of a little over $1.9 million. And then as we roll to the Rebuild Illinois Fund, so dollars that basically we receive from the state to reinvest in our infrastructure. This is the final year where we will receive dollars in 22. The current fund balance is a little over $1 million. We expect to receive $586,369 from the state. That will conclude the dollars that we'll receive from the state under this program. And the one expenditure here is a portion of the $1.5 million is a portion of the Kreutzer Road widening project, right? So we start to talk about phase 2 engineering. We start to talk about land acquisition for that project in this budget. The motor fuel tax fund, this is an annual funding source or fund for our street improvement program. These are dollars that we receive from the state on an annual basis. Our 21 ending projected fund balance is a little short of $800,000. Again, we get these dollars from the state. You see our estimated revenues for 2022 are a little over 1.1 million. And the prioritized expenditures or proposed expenditures, the total A and B, 1.5 million, that's our 22 street improvement program. The ending fund balance there is a little over $427,000. Our street improvement and roads and bridges fund, again, this is a fund where we start the 22 with an estimated fund balance of a little over 2.9 million. We bring in, and this is an important point. This is the first complete year that we've collected our home rule sales tax. Per the direction from the board a couple years ago, we take that home rule sales tax, reinvest in the community, and 75% of that comes into this fund. And our projected revenues for 22 is a little over 1.4 million. I'd also like to point out that this is where we receive some of our streetlight grant programs as well, or from ComEd. So 1.5 million is the projected revenue for 22, and the expenditures obviously outpace the revenues, as you see on this slide, but we utilize the existing fund balance to perform and provide the services under our program in 22. So the projected ending fund balance is about 1.5 million. Our facilities and grounds maintenance fund, the 21 projected ending fund balance is a little short of $400,000. We bring in The last, in some ways, of our telecommunications tax revenue. That was a major revenue source for us for the better part of a decade to fund this building, the full interchange, the Route 47 widening that occurred back in 2011. The revenues here obviously are a little less from that telecommunications tax now, and we expect it to continue to dwindle. And that's an important point because it's a revenue source that we've relied on for a number of years to provide capital improvements for the community. The transfer of developer dollars from capital here, again, the $200,000 is for our gateway signage program in and around I-90 and Freeman and Damer Road Drive. The $200,000 is our dollars that we've collected from the from the outlet mall, former outlet mall property, as well as from the Horizon Group. So the expenditures that you see in this budget for that gateway signage, as you approved in those development agreements, is offset by the revenue that we receive from the development community. So total expenditures proposed here in this fund, $625,243. That leaves us with a FY22 ending fund balance of a little over $219,000. Special service area number 5 is a maintenance special service area in Southwind. This is the revenue comes directly from property taxes levied on the residents that live in Southwind. The 21 projected fund balance is a little over $26,000. Expenditures $42,930, and the ending fund balance is a little short of $20,000 at $19,321. Again, this is essentially a tax collected on the residents in Southwind for the maintenance. This isn't for the water and sewer infrastructure, the special service areas that you see on an annual basis that you'll see before the end of the year. But again, you can have an idea of what our maintenance costs are there in special service area number 5. The Drug Enforcement Fund, the projected fund balance at the end of 21 is $101,418. Revenues that we receive come from DUI fines, charged for services. That estimate for 22 is $12,600. The proposed expenditures here are large, $89,921. However, $80,000 is essentially the purchase and replacement of 2 squad cars for the police department. The ending fund balance in 22 is projected to be a little short of $25,000. The equipment replacement fund has been and continues to be a challenge for us to provide enough revenue to keep up with the replacement schedule that we know we need to follow. You will see that displayed on this slide. The 21 projected ending fund balance is a little over $792,000. Our revenues are $53,000 with proposed expenditures almost $870,000. Typically, how we've covered that is a transfer from the general fund surplus to this fund, but I will offer to the board that at some point we need to find and establish a sustainable revenue source because that surplus can't be counted on an annual basis to fund these equipment replacements obligations that we have. So now we move into the Water Capital and Equipment Fund. This is again the enterprise funds, right? No tax dollars go to our water and wastewater funds. These are all dollars that we've collected primarily through our infrastructure maintenance fee. That was something new that we established a couple years ago. The 21 estimated projected fund balance is a little over $2.7 million. The revenues in 22 are about $4.1 million. Really boosted by the fact that we propose to use the federal dollars, the ARPA funds, a little over $3.7 million to offset our costs, particularly for our new water production facility. So the ongoing maintenance is relatively small here at $172,500. The prioritized projects, again, which includes the new water production facility, well 12 and water treatment plant, exceeds $4 million. Leaves us with an ending fund balance of about $2.8 million. And on the wastewater side of things, we project an ending fund balance in fiscal year 21 of $1,572,287. Our revenues are identified on the screen, a little over 1.6 million. I'd point the board's attention to the asterisk transfer developer escrow, or again, developer contribution from Venture One and Horizon. And that's essentially, and we'll get into a little more detail here in a minute on this, but that offsets our cost for the Eakin Creek Interceptor project. So I'd like the board to perhaps look at what's being presented to you tonight in this way. So out of that $14 million, approximately 87% or 12.2 million can be directly attributed to the 7 items that are on this slide. Our annual street and right-of-way improvement program, our water main replacement program, Route 47 Mill and Dean, our equipment replacement, the UV disinfection system at the East Wastewater Treatment Plant, Kreutzer Road widening, Water Well 12 and water treatment facility, and the Eakin Creek Interceptor. So those 7 projects, or those 7 categories, account for 87% of what's in front of you tonight. And they fit into these categories, right? So the management, going back to the beginning of our presentation, today and tomorrow, right? These are today expenditures. To maintain our existing infrastructure is a little over $6.6 million in this budget. The annual street and right-of-way improvement program, this includes not only the pavement program, but our edge mill and overlay program, our sidewalk improvement program, our LED street lighting program, a little over $3 million. The water main replacement is the replacement of the water main that runs from Main Street to Mill Street. Earlier this year, you approved an easement agreement with Mr. Scala that will allow us to construct the infrastructure improvements in 22, then also Mill and Dean water main replacement. We've already talked about the equipment replacement in vehicles. That's just a little short of $950,000. And then I know Trustee Kittle was excited to get to visit the East Wastewater Treatment Plant earlier this week and see the disinfection system itself. So I know he's going to want to speak to that sooner. I know Tim said that. So, but
I'd be more excited to speak.
Right. And then future strategic infrastructure investments. These are tomorrow, right? These projects are projects that we say are strategic. Our community has asked that we consider them, and this is the Kreutzer Road widening east of Route 47. $2.8 million in this budget, but as the board knows, and we'll explain, right, that's a $12 million project, not a $2.8 million project. Just as the well and water treatment plan to enhance our water system, that's an $8 million project, but we propose 1.4 in expenditures, and we've already talked about the Eakin Creek Interceptor sewer, so that's about a 5 total of those 3 projects, $5,628,100. So I put this slide together for the mayor because he and I talk a lot about this. Show me the money, right? So the 3 projects on the end of our list here, these are tomorrow projects, and these aren't completely funded. And I just think it's important that the board keep this in mind as we move forward in the budget process. As I just mentioned, the Kreutzer Road widening project is a little over $12 million. This budget proposes $2.8 million in expenditures, or 24% of the total project cost. Our funding sources, right, I've had some questions and good ones from the board over the course of the last week. Well, do we go out and seek and identify funding sources? We do, and to date, we'll bring a little more than $3 million to the table on this project. And what you'll also hear from us is we continue, and Tim will present, along with our consulting engineer on November 18th, an overview of the Phase 1 engineering that's been completed. Present to the board at this point the conceptual layout for the roadway, and then identify moving forward things that we need to do to advance the project. And ultimately what we propose in 2022 is Phase 2 engineering and some right-of-way acquisition. So that's what the $2.8 million represents in fiscal year 22, would be the Phase 2 engineering and starting right-of-way acquisition discussions. And I think it's important to note that we believe that we may have a better opportunity to secure additional funding sources with Phase 1 engineering done and rolling into Phase 2. So this is a really important discussion, again, from the perspective of this project's about 74% unfunded. So we need to close that gap. That delta is big. How we do that, that's something that we're all going to have to work on together. Obviously, we will bring ideas and thoughts to the board, but ask you again to think that through as we move forward in this budget process. We explain a little bit here where the dollars come from. I think you probably understand the Rebuild Illinois dollars. These are dollars that we received from the Rebuild Illinois funds. And again, we'll receive these installments through 2022. These funds are restricted to bondable projects or local transportation and infrastructure projects. It must be spent by July of 2025. We talked a little bit this week with some of the trustees about the McHenry County Council of Mayors and the Surface Transportation Program. The STP program is funded through America's Surface Transportation Act, which provides a suballocation of surface transportation block grant funding to each of the 50 states. Tim wrote this, can you tell? So these funds are suballocated to each urbanized area. In the Chicago region, CMAP allocates these funds to each of the 11 suburban councils in the city of Chicago. Communities that are members of the council, and we're a member of the McHenry County Council of Mayors, can then apply to receive STP funds for a number of different types of transportation projects using criteria that the council sets forth. So Tim, you go to those meetings monthly?
It's every other month.
Every other month. So, so the local match requirement for these projects is 20%, with the federal government funding 80% of the cost. So we have a seat at that table, and we make sure we do what we can to bring those dollars back to our community. And then the final couple slides here, again, show me the money on Water Well 12 and treatment plant. An $8.3 million project right now in the 2022 budget. We propose $1,460,000 in expenditures, or 17% of the project. The funding sources, the good news, and we've talked a lot about this, we have 5 water production facilities today. And as a part of the planning of this community, those water production facilities have been paid for by the developers that have grown this community. This will be the first one that we have to find a way to fund ourselves. And I think the timing of this is great, right? Because the American Rescue Plan Act, the ARPA funds, the 3.7, allows us to utilize those dollars for water improvements. So that's something that we'd ask the board to consider as you move forward, you know, in evaluating this FY22 budget. And then at some point, we need to cover the 56% of the project that remains, $4.6 million. Right now, we'd probably propose, and we've looked at, I know Kathy's been in contact, you know, with our financial consultants on the possibility of a debt issuance here of a little in that $4.6 million frame. So we may be able to reduce that. We may be able to find additional funding sources. But really, I believe it's going to be imperative as we roll into that first quarter of FY22. You know, my expectation is the board will keep these projects going, but to have a real conversation about how we come back and ultimately fund these improvements. And I think, you know, we've presented this over time. The mayor and I saw this last week, and I always love when another community does a survey and it shows that we're not cherry picking, as an example, our water and sewer rates, right? So a local community last week, as reported in the newspaper, did a water and sewer rate assessment, and we ended up at the very bottom of that, right? And we take that and all day long, right? We know your expectations. It's provide excellent service, build things for our community, but do it in the most cost-effective way as possible. And I think if you look at our tax rate as well as our water and sewer rates, that's what we do. But we are low by a significant amount that on water and sewer rates, right? So my point here is, and I'm certainly not necessarily advocating for, but I think we need to have a real discussion as to how we keep this water and sewer system at where you expect it to be and where our community expects it to be. So the last project that we show is the Eakin Creek Interceptor Sewer, and this is a great story. So a little over $1.3 million is proposed to be expended in 2022, and we've been able to negotiate with the development community, Venture One and Horizon, to pay for that, so we can show the money on that project. And then I don't want to move on from this discussion without reminding the board that we have a meeting next Thursday. And the focus of that meeting is really going to be, what do we want to do with the downtown? At this point, you know, we are excited to present some options in terms of enhancements in the downtown. We've talked about some of those over the course of the last 2 weeks, but it reminds you that that's about plus or minus $5 million as well. So we thank you for your time tonight, and as always, we're here to answer any questions that you may have on what's been presented.
Dave, just to clarify, when you said we're at the bottom of the list of other municipalities, that's our rates compared to their rates, so that's a good thing.
That's correct.
Usually when you're at the bottom of the
Yeah.
list, it's not good.
I know they, in that article, they had us at the top, and I told the mayor I didn't like that, right? Because it made it look like we were the highest, but we were the lowest.
Thank God for the Daily Herald publishing that, Dave.
Right. Yeah, that was good. Yeah, thank you, Trustee Goldman. Yep.
What, I have a quick question. Why are there 2022 vehicles, 2017, 2018? I get some of those are aging, but why are the 2022s?
Yeah, that's
drives B?
Yeah, that's a great question. So those are new vehicles. So the others are replacement. So with the additions, with the addition of officers in the police department, we need some additional vehicles. So those are new vehicles.
No problem.
And what's wrong with the banners? They're just out of date, or?
Yeah, you know, Barbara and I have talked about that. Typically, we've been at about 10,000 on those. The ones that went back up on 47, Barbara, how old out there?
They are original ones from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
They get dry rot because they're out so long, and so then they just kind of shred and they fall apart. So
They fade.
it's time to replace those. And there's 88 poles to replace.
We put Nico's face on there?
No, thanks, man, I'm good.
What about, I saw something else in there I didn't make a note on. You have to come back to me on this.
You brought up Trustee Kanakaris, and then the sign is a replacement, the gateway sign. I know, hopefully that'll be better than the original one.
That's right, thank you.
That was my next question. That gateway sign, can we reuse that somehow? Like,
You know,
put in the garage where the guys, before they go out snow plowing, like drive safe or do something
we
with
can
it?
certainly see if it's salvageable, and if there's any way to sell it, we can certainly put that out there.
Or sell it?
Yep, we'll see if that's possible. I know Barb will be sad to see that go too. You don't like staying out there in the snow and cold and fixing that thing?
No, that's one of the things we don't like to MacGyver when we have to go out in the winter, but we do.
Dave, I'd just like to make a comment. When I see that you're projecting positive balances in all funds except one for 22 at this level, I think that the Village of Huntley is in great financial shape.
Thank you.
I told Harry to say that. Just for the record.
Dave, I had a couple questions. The ARPA money, that specifically told us where we can use it, right? We just can't use that for anything?
That's correct. So there's a specific set of guidelines that those dollars can be used for. Kathy, I don't know if you want to, I know water, sewer, if you want to hit on some of those for the board, that'd be great.
So you're correct. There's specific guidelines. There's like 4 categories, if I recall. One was revenue losses, which we didn't qualify for. And then infrastructure was specific to water and sewer infrastructure. It didn't include road infrastructure.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
No, Dave and your staff did a great job so far. Everything's beautiful.
I told him to say that.
You guys are awesome.
I just
All
hope
right.
we get some federal dollars from Biden's infrastructure
We're
program.
gonna get this, my first meeting's gonna be done in under an hour here, so.
All right.
Village manager's report. Village president's report. McCog was canceled last night. We have 2 October birthdays, and I missed at the beginning of the month. We had Rhonda, I believe the 7th, and Mary's is today, so happy birthday. And I got got nothing else? Is there any unfinished business? Any new business? Executive session's already taken care of. Can I get a motion? to close?
So move.
Pico?
Second.
JR?
Sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 7:46, you happy? Oh.
Now it's adjourned.
You walking out.
Happy birthday.